Recently, I was asked about my most influential musical albums. Naturally, there are too many influences to count, so I capped the list at 20 with one rule. I had to listen to at least most of the album regularly. I couldn't pick an album that had 2 or 3 songs that I wore out while ignoring the others. Naturally, most of these are from my youth when I was most impressionable, but a few caught my adult ear in the world of digital music. So without further ado, here are my 20 albums in the order of which I discovered them. My mom never really listened to music when I was growing up, so I generally discovered it on my own. It was pretty hard not to discover Michael Jackson's Thriller because it was played everywhere. The songs were catchy and they made you want to dance, which is why Jackson was known as the King of Pop. At the same time, I heard a very interesting sound from a trio of musicians called The Police. It wasn't dance music, but it had a sound unlike anything else on the radio, and Sting's voice was unique. By now, America was completely into its hairband phase, and I got sucked into the vortex. The one album I listened to more than any other was Def Leppard's Hysteria because I liked the music and probably because they seemed to wear less hairspray and makeup than their contemporaries. INXS wasn't a hairband. Actually, I didn't know what they were besides Australian. All I knew is they made good music and all the girls liked the frontman, Michael Hutchence. By now, I was old enough to explore other genres of music aside from the top 40. I had heard an adult listening to a classic rock station, and what was on it sounded good. This led me to learn about John Fogerty, who was a solo artist I knew of. I did not know he was in a band before his solo career, and that band made music that had a lot of heart and great melodies. Hence my discovery of Creedence Clearwater Revival. Another band I thoroughly learned to enjoy was The Who. They had an aggressive style of playing that was a precursor to punk, and that spoke to my early teen ears. There was still a melody in there, so I could enjoy it without the need to punch through a wall. That same summer, I took a trip to Spain with my mother. We were on a guided tour all day, and my mother was the second youngest person on the tour bus, which meant I was the youngest by far. I had my Walkman with me and would show people the tapes I was listening to. One day, an older Jewish man from New York named Jaime offered me his Billy Joel tape. Bored of my music, I gave it a try and was instantly hooked. Jaime let me keep the tape, and that is one of my favorite takeaways from that trip. Back in the US, hairband music just kept getting cheesier, and I was ready to move on just like most of us were. I had forayed into rap with acts like the Beastie Boys and Public Enemy, but I still needed rock. Enter Guns N' Roses. Their debut album, which happened to be the first CD I ever owned, brought danger back to hard rock and got me excited again. The darkness Guns N' Roses introduced me to got me exploring other dark rock acts. One of my classmates had discovered a band called Led Zeppelin, and I was interested. I listened to their 4th album and didn't know what to do when Stairway to Heaven came on. It was like I was listening to a story that finished with an explosion. I was obsessed with the band. By 1990, popular music was lost. It was before grunge really blew everything up, and I just didn't care for much of what I heard. Then I was introduced to They Might Be Giants' Flood. It was quirky, bizarre, and fun. It was a nice change from the dark rock and metal I was exploring and the garbage I heard on the radio. By now, I was looking all over for music, and it was at this point that I realized half of the songs played on the local classic rock station were from one band. And they were all good songs. That was my formal introduction to the Beatles catalog. Around this time, I found an old cassette that had belonged to my dad. On the front was just some bearded man and his guitar. When I popped it in, I heard everything from reggae to country and, of course, the blues. Eric Clapton just sounded so good, I wanted to hear more from him. Shortly after discovering Clapton, I heard a song on the television that I grew obsessed with. I kept singing the little bit that I knew, hoping someone would fill me in on where it came from. Finally, I was told that the song I was singing was Johnny Cash. As soon as I had the money, I grabbed his greatest hit CD from the store, and I don't think it left my player for a month. To this day, the Man in Black is my favorite country artist. That Christmas, I got a collection of CDs called the Rolling Stone Collection. The magazine, not the rock band. It was a collection of important cultural rock songs spanning the mid-60s to 1990. Now, I know I'm probably cheating introducing a collection set, but without these, I would have never discovered the likes of Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, or David Bowie. It was one of the most eye-opening musical moments for me. Off that Rolling Stone collection, I discovered Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks' ability to harmonize mesmerized me, and the entire CD was like musical candy. I had also discovered Paul Simon, which led me to Simon & Garfunkel. Definitely a more mellow sound, but the harmonies were incredible, and I loved the lyrics that Simon provided. It really painted a picture for me. By now, grunge had taken over, and then disappeared, and my musical tastes were shifting. Cake became the first group I could just hang out and listen to. I didn't need to do anything but chill out and enjoy. Once I hit adulthood, the new digital age had begun, and instead of getting albums, we were downloading from LimeWire and grabbing whatever song sounded good. But there were a few more albums that I could enjoy, and the first was from none other than Tom Petty. I figured Petty was a relic who had had his time in the 70s and 80s, but Highway Companion showed me that he was still making great songs, and I grew to be a fan of his. The Thermals were a little-known pop-punk band that has since disbanded, but their songs are fun, catchy, and to the point. They were playing small venues, and I got to see them in an intimate atmosphere, which I always appreciate. Finally, I have to include the Decemberists. They weren't around when I was growing up, but their brand of storytelling folk-based songs remind me of traveling minstrels back in the Middle Ages. The music, lyrics, and mood are unlike anything I'd heard in some time. Classic musicianship that I appreciate. And that is my 20 most influential albums for better or worse. If you're a music lover, I highly recommend this exercise because it will take you on a journey through your musical life. Thanks for watching.